All right, good evening. I've learned over the years that geeks really like wheelchairs. They think it's a really cool piece of equipment, so I'm going to talk about it. It was completely custom made, and I have to say, I'm not wheelchair bound. Wheelchair is a tool of freedom for me. So it was custom made. It took about 2 weeks of discussions with the maker to get the measurements right, and then it took 7 weeks to get the chair, which was actually quite fast because it can take up to 6 months for people to get their wheelchairs. So we have to be careful when we think about that. Wheelchairs are costly. Mine cost $4,500 and that was 15 years ago. On the other hand, 15 years for wheelchairs, not such a bad return on investment, but you could buy a cheaper used car than that. What's in common between my chair and an aircraft? Well, they're both made of aircraft-grade aluminum, mostly. Rubber and other parts like that as well, of course. It's a rigid frame. That means it won't fold like the old chairs. It also means that 100% of my energy goes in the push rather than twisting the chair as you go. But it also means taxi drivers don't know what to do with it. I have the front end. My feet are not sticking up, so the front end is at 105 degrees. The old wheelchairs, you ended up with feet really far forward. You can get anywhere with that, so that's a major improvement. I have camber. That's the angle on the wheels. It allows me to really maneuver my chair really quickly, and it acts like a car differential. So if the sidewalk is at an angle, I can actually push easier. It's just wide enough to fit through most doors. Front casters, you'll see that I have very tiny front casters. If I were to buy them at the medical equipment store, it would cost me $100 a pair. I go to the inline skate store and I pay $20 for 8 pairs. I have front suspension, so the front casters have a block of polymer, like a strange plastic that acts as a shock absorber. I can take half-inch change in level without any problems. My wheels are Spinergy wheels. They're very expensive, but they also have some kind of give and take in it, so it's a little bit of a absorption as well, and they're light and they're cool, and bikers, cyclists always like to look at them, so that's always a good point. I have quick release axles, so I can remove my wheels really easily. I press the button in the center of my wheel, the wheel comes off. If I want to put it back in, I do it the other way around. So it's quite simple. I can take it apart in seconds. Cushion. I'm sitting on a cushion that's a mix of foam and air cells. It's great because I can be sitting in my chair for 10 hours without having a sore butt. But it's not so great because I've got to replace it, and it's $700. I don't have brakes on this wheelchair. I have wheel locks. My brakes are my hands. Wheel locks are meant to keep you in place when you're stopped. Brakes are actually meant to slow you down when you're about to splat into a car that's going too fast. I have a certain amount of dump in the chair. That means the front of my seat is higher than the back by 2.5 inches. It keeps me in the chair securely, and it allows me to have a flat lap to put cutting board and whatnot. Is this going quick? My chair is quite light. It's 14 pounds or 7 kilos, just the chair alone. It saves me lifting 5.5 tons at the end of the year compared to a heavier chair. And you'll notice I don't have push handles because I don't like being pushed. My chair is so tippy that if you were to push me, I could probably flip and land on my back, and we'd all find it funny until I realized that I'm really hurting. So talking of tipping, it's got a really tender balance point. I can tip a wheelie whether I'm stopped or moving, and it's quite easy to do that. It's very useful for getting on sidewalks. Now, enough about my chair. Let's finish with a few photos of accessibility in the real world. This is a bank. There's a button to open the door. You can get to the button if you can go up the 5 steps. Really fantastic. This was a pharmacy. They didn't clear the snow off the ramp, but that's not a problem because they left 2 big potted trees in front of the ramp. Incidentally, I never got the cold medicine I needed that day. And finally, I leave you with a wonderful telephone pole in the middle of a curb cut at a street corner in Montreal. Things like that happen often. I'd rather laugh than cry, and thank you.